Today we're going to go through dismantling and repairing a Rivarossi AHM imported Big Boy locomotive. I believe this one is made from 1966 to 1977, I think. I don't know. I'll find out when I tear it open. But I'm going to show you guys how it's done. Hopefully you enjoy the ride. Well, let's begin the disassembly of this here Big Boy. They've got a screw right up here, which is under the bell in the front. So a screw and the bell. And then underneath this cap right here, pop this off. There's another screw under there. Take that one off. There's another screw that's underneath here. So if you take this drawbar out, between the front and rear drivers, that allows you to kick this off to one side a little farther. Back here at the back. Spin this around here. Right back here. Oh. Yeah, of course I have no idea where this goes because it just fell out. Guess we'll have to look at the destructions on it. But these little steam tubes right here need to be removed. Motor all the way along here to a big drive line. Oh my. Sure isn't as fancy as I thought it would be. Oh, these steam pipes are held on by a very small screw. Down in there and down in there. And you got to get those out of there before you take the front truck off, or you'll be buying new steam pipes. That's what I understand. This is already not making me very happy. All the dreams I had of this little stand being just the most awesomest thing ever. So far, not so much. Gearbox. Oh, there's fun little drive lines in there. Looks like these gearboxes have a little notch right there, and then this drive line goes on and it locks in on those notches. I'm gonna have to do some research. As the drive lines spin, you can see this little fella right there turning. This is quite a bit different than I had anticipated. That dropped out the rear trucks. As they come out with an assembly, here's the part that goes down from the gearbox that would spin the wheel and tire assemblies. Little plastic coupling right there. These have got a significant amount of scubby in them. I can tell that they don't spin very freely at all. Oh, this gearbox came completely apart. Little adapter. Thing's just completely full of grease. There's a screw sitting right down in here. I wonder if old Winston was around. What would he be doing today? That gets our trucks to drop out. There's the ones we're looking for right there. And then the weight comes out. This is just a spring that pushes down on the rear trucks. Front trucks are coupled on with this. And there is a little tiny spring attached up right in there that keeps this tension on this front truck. And I want to take this out because I want to open it up and show this gearbox in there. You know, little springs clipped on right there. Well, looks like all it's got's another gearbox in here. I was kind of hoping maybe these would all be driven or something like that, but they're not. Just one little gearbox, and of course they're tied together through all this. Not as happy as a guy could be. Not as happy. I wonder if the hydrosonic cleaner will whoop this up into shape. Just real fast, like. I'm gonna give it a shot. Just to see. After pulling this truck bearing retainer plate off the bottom here, exposes you to the gears that are inside here. This is only driven with one axle. And here's the little gearbox. Little brass helical gears that are in there. And this just was it was press fit in here around this axle. And there's an alignment hole down inside there, right here, which will center it all up when it's reinserted. So this is held in from the plates and everything being on there. So I've been working on cleaning up all the grease in here and cleaning the wheels. I only left it in the ultrasonic cleaner for about 4 minutes because it has a tendency to pull paint off, and I see that all these rods had paint on them, and I didn't want to tear those up. So I'm actually having to do a lot of just hand cleaning on this. One thing I'm really disappointed about is the fact that there's absolutely no bearings in here whatsoever. Just some flat metal bent, and then the axles just right in these square grooves right here. Nothing. It's like, well, why didn't you make them at least half round or something? You know, give me one more than this. So I always kind of thought Rivarossi built nice stuff, but that was a little disappointing when I opened that up and seen that. I really like all these side rods because there seems to be that they're built really good. You know, as you're sitting here, you're cleaning these and you're moving stuff around, and it's never got bound up. It's never gotten mad at me over anything. So that's a nice bonus. So I'm going to take this transmission. Well, this has got a name for it. I don't know what it's called. It's not a transmission, but I'm going to get this opened up, clean all this grease out, and then I'm just going to use light oil on it. I'm not going to grease it because I don't run them that much. And as time goes by, the grease, of course, always gets hard. And then you get to take this apart and do it again. Where I think you'll get more storage time out of these if they've just got light oil on them. You could pull them off a couple years later and put them to work. And you know, I'm going to be willing to bet that the grease is not going to be hard inside of them. Now this little drive gear's got bushings on it. I can see these brass ones right here. And there's a thrust washer in there, thrust washer up here. So we got to get all that cleaned up, get all that grease out of there, and make sure we don't lose any of the parts. Because it's not like I can just run down and buy a fresh one now, huh? So now we'll reassemble this motor. There's a bit of a wide spot up at the top. So the part of the shaft that's got the little hairpin in there for the coupler to couple onto goes up. Can't really put it together backwards. Now would be a good time to give this a little drinky. Seems like when you clean it with Q-tips, you always end up with Q-tip fuzz all over the place. Can lift this axle out, get this dry box lined up with it, and then it's going to friction fit back into the frame. It's going to come up in this area right up in here. Give all these axles a little taste of oil. We will get this cover back on. Now this front truck had this tiny little thrust washer up underneath of it. So we get a focus on getting that in. I'm going to lose it. This will take like 9 times, I'm sure. And that spring provides this down pressure to keep these trucks on the track. Now, I'm going to give all this moving stuff a little touch of grease or oil. Oh, and she just loves to bind up. Oh, just fancy. Well, lucky me, it's binding up pretty good. So one gets to work on it and figure out where it's binding at. Well, after farting around with this thing for quite some time, I guess I've come to the conclusion that the way that it's designed, that it's not going to freewheel down the track very well, because it's got that little gearbox inside there. So whenever I try to just push it on the track, it goes and then it binds up, and it goes and it binds up, but when you spin it like this, it doesn't. So now that I've got the front set done. Now, know what I get to do? I get to do it all over again because, well, it's two locomotives in one. You notice this right here? Traction tire. Does this one have it on there? For a while. It does for a little while. I guess I kind of got to do this to the back one again. And probably won't film that because it's just like doing the front one. Here's the back one. And it's identical. The drive comes in at the back right there. Well, now that we've seen the guts of this thing, let's put it back together. I mounted this weight in the body. It's got one screw right there and another screw right there. Looks like it's got some plastic fatigue. This locomotive must have been dropped at one time. So that holds the weight in, and also this is kind of the frame for everything. Front set of drivers. It's going to go in like this. Then we've got this pin. We got these steam pipes down here. One right there. You're gonna fight another one over here on this other side. Oh, shit. This one, I want to tell you fellers something. Now this is really important. Before you go working on little teeny tiny pieces parts, it's always important to never ever sweep or vacuum the floor that you're on. That way, when you do drop a brush or a brush spring or a really tiny bolt, you get to enjoy yourself down there on the floor crawling around with a flashlight in your hand and wonder why you live in such a filthy place or you work in such a filthy area. This little drive coupling goes down inside this hole and it's got to catch the drive gear down there. Spin the screwdriver to make sure it's engaged. Then we've got this little feller here. It's got to catch the top of that drive coupling inside this hole. I bet you there's an easier way to do this. You just think that there would be. So there is the front assembly all the way in. So for I think I got to put one of these underneath of this. That's looking pretty good so far. So bushing right here that did fall out and I found it. So we put that in because it's just kind of all by itself. Bet you there's a wire that bolts on right there. I'll just bet you there is. Bet you it goes to this motor. And I got to these two drive lines. We're going to put the gearbox in like this. Longer drive line goes up in the front. Longer drive line in the front, shorter drive line towards the back, towards the motor. This coupling comes off of this, goes down and catches that back set of drivers. Here's something interesting I seen. See all these stress cracks right through here? So this gearbox is almost junk because the plastic is so brittle on it that it probably ain't gonna hold up very much anymore. So yeah, some of the joys. Used locomotives. Sold to me as running, of course. Fresh taste of oil. When I was digging around on the bottom of these wheels of this locomotive trying to determine where it got its power from, I ran a multimeter on continuity, and I determined that this is where it gets its the wheels get its power from. Two front trucks. Here's the cow catcher on the front. This is holding it completely upside down. Front trucks, two drivers on this side, catch some of the current. Two drivers on this side, rear trucks under the cab, picks up the other polarity. And then it's got two plastic traction tires on it. So I had my graphics art department work on this for quite some time. I think they did an excellent job. Let's see if our motor spins. That's not very good at all. Sounds dry as a bone. This thing's riveted shut. And you can't even get in there to clean up the armatures or nothing. What if I just let it run for a while? If it might make it a little happier. Yeah, we're gonna have to do something with those brushes. I can see that I can take them out of there. Contacts are clear down inside here. And I don't know how the heck a guy could get to clean them. This brush here seems to be a piece of wound up. It's like a small screen, just wound up, made out of copper. Like somebody kind of made their own brush. This brush here looks real enough. Well, I took the motor and I sprayed paint. I took the brushes out and I sprayed it all down with brake parts cleaner. So now I've got slow speed performance with it. So I guess it was really pretty greased up inside there. It still arcs and sparks a lot, but it doesn't have good brushes. So I got to try to see if I can find a set of brushes for it or get a can motor upgrade. But I am pretty happy with this because I can stop it, turn directions, and start it again. And I wasn't able to do that before. So I'd have to say this has come along quite a bit better. Put this motor in the Locomotive engine, and then we'll see if it'll go down the track. I can't believe I shot that. It came out unbelievable. I just got done watching it and I'm like, well, Michael Bay better watch out because you might have noticed that the Locomotive boiler itself was rocking a little bit. Well, I've had some problems with those gearboxes in there. They're really shot. I spent a lot of time trying to glue them back together because the plastic is just really rotted away. So those are like the best shots I've got out of this thing in like 3 days of trying to run it. So yeah, it runs, and I can't get new gearboxes. I can't get little things for it. The motor, I've ordered in an updated can motor for it. Maybe we'll have a part 2 after I find a boiler cover for it to get the hand railings put on. But I really enjoyed this one. Wanted a Big Boy for a long time. I actually bought this one as a parts Locomotive and was able to get it running. So I'm pretty happy. So hey, thank you guys so much again for your support. If you'd like, click on that subscribe button down there. Maybe belly up to the comment section. Throw some ideas in there. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.